Okay, so this is a recap of Friday, uh, April 22nd, NVDA trade. So I am capturing my most biggest trade in my entire day trading career. Um, Ignore the fact that it's the P&L is red right now. I mean, that was dumb stuff I did over here and got squeezed up here or here, one of these two. And but I was able to catch on here and that's where it started this biggest trade ever done. So there's a couple of things I'll go through and probably stop, pause the video here and there just so I can uh, point out some key points for all of this. And do apologize that the white screen in the back. I mean, I can't do anything about that. It is what it is. All right, so let's start playing and let's see what happens. So right now, the entry I took was, I would say, so 202.4, so right above this. So, so when I took the entry, it was a failure on this one right here. So when I mean failure, the stock was going up, rejected this top right here. So you can see 203, I would say like maybe 2 and 3, got rejected, came down. So these are patterns I usually look for a downtrend. And I got in at this, most likely at this level or tried to get close to this level. So right underneath. And part of the reason on why I enter that, if you look at the 5-minute chart I have down here, you see there's a big wick. It came down. So when I see that, in my mind is like, okay, that's a rejection, a strong rejection, especially with this kind of big wick. Let's give it a shot and see if I can enter here and ride it down, because this, after all these crazy ups and shot back down, especially right here at this level, the 202.69, like went up above it, but it came right down, and look where the level is, back over here, shot up, came back down, shot up, came back down, shot up even further here, but it came back down hard. It did came back up, and then but it got rejected at this level up here, which should have been a better entry for my previous trades. You can probably see how I did on the video I released today for yesterday's trade. And then if you look right here, this also rejected, and this rejected, came down from this, came up, rejected, 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 and reject again. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, this is kind of together. 9, 10 because of the wick. 11 times. It could not get over 202.69. Let's just say 7. 202.7 many times and kept going down. So that also gave me reinforcement of it coming down, despite stochastic. Like stochastic is going up, this one's coming down, and I'm also looking at QQQ on the 5-minute chart on the side, looking for similar patterns, and the Nasdaq futures looking for a similar pattern as well. So with that said, let's start. So here I can, so let's close this, or not, pause this real quick. So you can see, like, so right here we might have a small view of this. I'm not sure how small it is looking for you guys, but when this candle breaks below this guy right here, especially the body, that's confirmation for me that it's gone to the downside. Now it can whip up, and I usually try and look and stay, get ready to exit just in case. You'll see my mouse coming up to the buy button because this is short, just in case I get stopped out. And also watch this candle. Look, it's filling. So you can see it's filling, and now it's at 202. So that tells me there's a momentum, and when there's momentum, it's gonna possibly even go lower than the 202 level, this dotted line. And you can see it's hovering on these guys right here. Now I could look over here too, but I don't think I was doing that earlier, but you can see that's also a support level. If it breaks a strong support level, then it's gonna go even further down. Especially as like a support right here, support become a resistance, becomes another resistance, become like a small support. So small support is this wick right here, came up, came back down, tried to bounce here, but it failed. Rejected, support again, and now it's retesting it. So let's see what it does. And right here you can tell it's coming down. So 202 red candle coming down if it shoots like down far, especially below this level and this candle, there's momentum coming down. So that's what I look for in the 1 minute and 5 minute. So this one rejected 202 and tried to stay. Look, 5 minutes, and you can look at the L2 right here too. Watch how it moves. Like it tried to bounce, but keeps rejecting. So 255. And apologies, this is fast. So let's go back a little bit. So right here, watch the L2. All this is in 2 times speed, otherwise it will be here forever. I mean, me just talking can probably extend this video as well. But watch the L2. It went to the 50s and then shot back down to 30s. So that tells me there's more momentum to come down. So watch the L2. So so watch the L2 right here first, and then we can go back and talk about the others. So 50s, 50s, 59, 58. So and shot right back down. The 30s, like try to climb back up. Did go to 60s, 70s, 80s, and try to squeeze, and that's where I move my mouse. But look the rejection. So 80s, it couldn't get over 80s. Came back down to 60s and down. Shoot back up, can't come right back down. And that's where I look for this kind of candles too. And right here, this you can see the rejection come down. It tried to turn green, but now if this candle on the 5 minute fails by turning it red and go down, that's extra momentum. So the longer these guys test and rejects, especially if like the market right now is on the downside. So if this is trying to go up, the more it goes up, the more it comes down. And if you look at this is the Heikinashi candles, you can see it's trying to form a flag, but the flag is like constantly retesting the top. And usually, from my experience, the flags they come down hard, especially if it's a flat top right here like this. So let's continue. So it does come up. Now it's coming down. So 202, or sorry, 201, 202. It's like teeter-tottering. And going up 18, then it came back down. So go back to 10, retest, and slowly coming down. And you can see this. Alright, so I sped up this part up, and this is where it's trying to consolidate. So this whole time it was consolidating right here, and now it's trying to reconsolidate. But look at the rejection. There's a wick right here, and it's trying to get above 202, but it's coming back down. So you watch, see, and then it's going lower based on L2 because you saw 202, now it's like 201.7, 201.6, and you constantly seeing it's like 0.8 and then back down, 0.7, back down. So that means something for someone stomping it out right here, and all this is still growing. So you can see right here where it just fell, where it's the candle coming down. This came down a bit more and lower and lower. So just watching L2 from this one. It did go back to 90s. And I think I was getting ready to do my stop pretty soon. So I went to the 15 minutes just to see, and you can see all these wicks. Like it's constantly retesting that resistance level, but it's always failing. So that also gave me conviction on holding. Now I don't remember what the Nasdaq futures and the indices was showing at the time, but I do look for something similar in how the candle moves. And later down the line, when it shows you a really good behavioral move, I will point that out. So yeah, that's when I start getting ready to cover in case this shot up, but it rejected 202 again. So let's go back a little bit. All right, so watch L2, getting ready because it was going above 25, but shot back down. 11 down. It can't get over 202. And now watch this. So I want to go back a little bit. Watch this candle. So there's multiple spots to look at. So watch this candle turn to red, and look how it's below. It's got the body of this candle is going below this wick. So, yeah. And then more momentum coming down. It's trying to bounce VWAP, but then you can see the momentum coming down. Now going back up here, rejected 202, comes down. Reject, trying to bounce VWAP, failed. And that's the same time this one failed. So going back again, a little bit more, and check the L2. So I went a little far too back, but you can see 70s, 60s, down, 50s, 40s, try to bounce, and then try to go back up to 45. This is really fast, so you gotta be careful on watching this down here. So 50s again, 60s climbing a little bit, and then 70s, okay. Came back up to 80s. So that's wick. But look, it's rejecting 202. Yep, so it started coming down. See right there, 202, and now it's like almost 201. And you can see the failure. So speeding this up, I think right here I watched again. No, I didn't. Yeah, so let's see where it goes. And this is like sped like I think 64 times for some of it. Some the parts where I do talks, it's more about like 4 times. Yeah, so right here I was watching. Let's go back a little bit. Right here I was watching for the failure on the VWAP. So 201.25, and it came back down. Tried to test 0.4s, came back down. And I think I've had my level right below this, so I would exit below this. So I was here, most likely fearing a bounce on VWAP. So this dotted line is VWAP. And it's constantly retesting, so I'm watching right here. It's like 0.3, 0.4. I was getting ready to get out, but it keeps on failing. It goes up and then straight back down. Goes up, straight back down. And it failed. And it broke the 201 for a bit. Tried to bounce, but it keeps failing. And you can see it just momentum coming down. So I was looking into 200 exit, and this is the 15 minute. You can see it's constantly coming down. It's a reversal, so or not reversal, but yeah, it's a reversal pattern. So let's see if we can bring that back up. Yep, so okay, so all these rejection, and you see this the failure. Now if it bounced here, it's gonna continue to consolidate. But if it fails, that's more conviction to hold because that's extra momentum coming down, cracking through this support level, cracking through this white line where I had stopped before, and it can even potentially crack down here. Depending on how the market is, with um, how much the red candle on the QQQs and Nasdaq it will show, especially how big. It's like Nasdaq candle like shows this, and there's no bottom wick. This is gonna follow as well. So that's how harsh it can look, or it can go, possibly go. And in this case, it did. Yep, see? Now it's going to test 200, or well, right above 200. And partially because this is this level right here. So it's right underneath this. So it's trying to bounce, but watch, it fails. And this is seen all over this right here, downtrend break. And like I mentioned, looking for a candle with no bottom wick, momentum coming down. You see this trying to bounce, but then it's like it's starting to fail, and you can see the L2. You might have to rewind a bit to see some of this, where it comes up, down, comes up, and straight down, even further. And this is the common thing you'll see in this long hold. So this is only a portion of it, and it was like almost a 3-hour long wait and hold. So wait for that. Watch, and now I'm also sometimes I'm watching the bid side too, just to see where it goes. So now it's speeding up and consolidating. Same thing, looking at the L2 rejection, and looking at this, looking at QQQs, looking at Nasdaq future, and see how they move. Now right here, because my average was so high, so 202, I'm already up here, so I could widen my stops a bit more. Because you saw right here, when I was at 202.49, I was getting ready to exit right here, and it failed. Right here, and it failed. So down here, I didn't really care too much unless it popped over probably 205. But down here, I was looking for a bounce to 200. And 200 is a key level now. It's psychological key level. So if this rejected 200, I would stay. And with the market being weak, I didn't think this would be a strong one, especially once you see like a top wick. Yeah, see it's constant rejection and then top wicks right here on this candle. Especially, and look, if you look at L2, it's constantly trying to retest 200. So see 8, 7, 8, 7 back to 80s, comes back down to 70s and lower 80s, lower 80s, higher 80s, and then wait for it. It did go to 90s, but that's a new candle now, and it's gonna reject. It did climb up to it, but look, it's having a hard time getting over 200. So it came back down. So that's what I was holding for. And it was trying to retest again. If it go past it, I'll most likely get out. If it doesn't, I'm gonna stay. And you can tell this one's trying to bounce, but then you can see the top wick. And this one is trying to. I mean, you can see it now too. It's trying to. It just popped a little bit over 200, but it came back down to the 90s. Now it's in the 80s. Looks like it's about to fail again. So watching right here, it hasn't touched the 80s again. So now it's trying to retest the 80s, but look, it failed. And now this shows you the top wick. And like I said, apologies if this is too small for your screen. Because I don't know why there's like this big white part here. It kind of makes it hard to see on some of these candles. But now you have the top wick, and then this candle is trying to bounce. But let's see what happens. Watching the L2, it goes up to 60s. Try to test 70s and 80s. Try and go to 200s again. But will 200 stay or fell? 200s. It just popped a little bit over, but it came back down. Now it's and the 70s, 60s. And you can see a reject right here. You just keep constantly testing. But in a short market, or not a short market, a bear market right now, I mean, I don't have a lot of conviction on buy side. So it's testing the 80s and it came back down. 70s, high 70s, and then came back down. So it was like doing this for a while. And you watch right here, it's like trying to hold the support, but because if this candle turns red and breaks this level down here, so that's the 199.5. If it breaks, it's gonna go even further down. So this is the level I'm looking at, and 200 is the resistance level. And will it come down? There's momentum. It tried. It bounced a bit. But if you look at 5 minutes, it's coming down. It's bouncing a little bit, but it's still coming down. And it's getting bigger and bigger, longer to the downside. And you can see it in the L2. So let's go back a little bit. L2 is trying to hold the 199.5. Failed. And it's going down. Try to pop up. Reject it. You see like mid 40s. Now it's trying to retest mid 40s, but it keeps on coming back down. So people are either slamming the stock around these small levels or something's going on. Now it's trying to retest, but after all these fails, plus the market's coming down with this, I mean, you can see the wicks on top of the candles, most likely is going to come down. And my next level I was looking at was this white line right here. That's actually a bounce level from the previous, or not previous, the morning. So you can see down here and here, that's the level for a bounce. But I believe because it failed up here, I think I widened my stop to 200 and just let it do its thing. And it failed. So yep. So now it failed. I just held and waited. I mean, right here I did the same thing. Right here, same concept. Looked at L2, watched for the patterns in the 5 minutes Nasdaq futures, and right here it bounced 198, another psychological level. I mean, each $1 level is a psychological level. Here it tried to bounce, but because it's so far down for me now, I think I had my stop at 199 because this white line was support, now became a resistance. So it's going to test the white line, which is I guess a little bit above 199. Oh, yeah, so I switched back and forth. So let's go back a little bit. I did switch back and forth just to look and confirm. So let's pause right here. It's like trying to confirm what the candles were doing. So 5 minute it popped, but it's below. So you can see my pencil right here. This line right here. So the 5 minute candle was still under this line, and this line is drawn from the green candle right here. Apologies if you can't see it. Um, right here before the red candle was like right underneath. So if it fails and reject that, that's going to be a wick and it's going to probably go down. So like right here, this is probably like the 5 minutes we were looking at. So that's probably like this guy right here. So you can see a rejection. And here's a level, 329.5. If it went above 329.5, then the market will follow and squeeze me. But in this case, I don't think it did. I can't remember exactly on the trade, but don't think it did because otherwise this would jumped up over. And you can see it's testing and coming down, testing, coming down. And that's where my conviction on holding even more stays. So same thing, L2, watch the levels right here and here. NASDAQ and QQ. And like I said, this is 2 times fast or 4 times fast. So uh, everything I'm saying is actually doable in a 1 minute, uh, especially for reactive and fast-paced traders. So I'm also a fast-paced trader, but I have the strength to hold into a longer trade. So right here is testing, but things just gonna go down further because you can see the rejection right here. And now there's more momentum. Watching the 5 minute, if it breaks the 198, that means more momentum coming down. And probably somewhere in like L2 or sorry, the QQQs and Nasdaq, I was looking at the same thing too, looking for similar patterns. And if you look right here, if it fails, like this becomes like a big wick. Sorry, not big wick, big body of the red candle, and keeps going down. It will go down further. So I look for these type of candles. These are my favorite candles. Alright, so right here it just rejected 198.5. So looking at the L2, it was like going up and then down. So fours and low threes, testing mid threes, fours, came right back down. It could not get over 0.5. And I think that was my next stop level, 0.5. If it goes above, I'll try to sell or take profit. And part of the reason for that right here is this guy, this side. So watching this side right here, support, support, rejected a little bit, and then came down, and this is well, it's a little bit above 0.5, 198.5, but it's good enough. And top of that, 0.5, every 0.5 is also a psychological level. Not as strong as the dollar, but it's still a psychological level every 0.5. So it's like 0.5 first, and if that's not the not the resistance or support level, the next one would be the dollar level, and then the actual resistance lines, which like these that I drew, the white line, the red line you'd see with the price. So let's watch what it does and look for this. This is showing momentum. It bounced a bit, but if it can break this bottom right here, it can go down further. So here, try to go back up, but keeps on rejecting. So watching L2, and you see this green candle reject top, but it's holding support, so definitely got worried there, most likely. So it pop up, rejected, 0.5, a little bit above 0.5, try to climb, but there's another resistance level. So I try to get ready to get out. You can see my mouse up here, but look, it's coming down. So that's my conviction on holding. I think it was like I moved my stop up to 199.5 from this resistance, just in case. But you see it failed, and it's trying to come down now. And you can see right here, there's a big wick on this green candle, meaning it can go down even harder from here. So looking for it to test 198s. I tried to bounce above it, but I'm looking at this candle right here, I believe. I just took a screenshot for some buddies that I share my trades with. So it's rejecting wherever this level is now. So I would say, yeah, that was like 0.75, I think. So I was waiting for this. If it pops up and comes back down, I mean, it's a hold. But I think I did start getting worried around here. Usually if you see my mouse goes up here, I'm getting ready to exit. So it failed, came back up, It's gonna fail. 17, 15, 13, 0. Yeah, so I'm getting worried right here. But it's constantly rejecting, and the reason why is because this thing looks like it's about to shoot up. Getting ready, but look, let's keep on rejecting. So I drew a line. The level, so the level right here is this guy to this guy. So that's my exit point. If it goes up, I'm either taking small profit or I'm going to do a full exit. And you can see that I started having fear because this is a big candle on the 5-minute, especially after like a big wick, top wick, and then like a small hammer. I was expecting it to come down, but that didn't, and it could have squeezed me if I was not prepared. And it rejected, or it's trying to reject. So watching point nines, it did go above 199 for a bit, but it came right back down, 30 points back down too, or sorry, 30 cents back down, and now it's retrying, getting ready just in case. Yeah, because like it's coming up, but it keeps on rejecting, especially this level, this little dotted line right here. It's coming up, so but came back down. So came back up, real quick 30s, and then came back to the 10s. It's doing the same again, but then you can see it's going lower and lower. Oh, what happened? Oh, there we go. Yeah, and it broke. And look how much momentum coming down. So you can see right here, I'm looking for that momentum break at this level. If this candle goes like full body red and top wick, yeah, you can see me marking the level. So it came down. Now it's retesting that. And same thing, L2 watching everything, and goes down further. L2 and this thing right here. My stop right here was probably closer to whatever this level was, which I don't remember. And let's see what happens here. So now it wants to retest 198. You can see a top wick right here. So this, even though it came from 197, my range now is wide because remember I am at 202, almost 202.5. So I'm all the way up here on the 5-minute, and it's this one's all the way down here. So I have pretty much a bigger range I can work with. I think even like wherever this candle line is, or I was waiting for this white line for a rejection and let it come down. Yeah, so right here, okay, yeah, so right here I'm getting ready to exit because I'm not sure if I will get squeezed. I think 198.5, but let's see. Watch how it goes. So notice how it's rejecting. Yeah, so it rejected this level right there, even though this is a green candle. But look, now's the top wick. Watching L2 as well. Let's see if it'll come down. So watching L2, this candle right here, how it behaves, and this, how it behaves. Yeah, so once it breaks 197.5, it can go further. So now it's going to, it's slowly coming down, it's creeping down, now it just came lower. It might pop a little bit. So it went back to 0.6, and it came back down to the 5s. So watching 50 minutes, I'm looking, let me pause it real quick. There we go. Yeah, so this is on the 15 minutes. So I went and changed it to 15 minutes to confirm. You can see there's more downside on a higher level. And you can see right here, this is the daily chart too, by the way. So you can see and watch it coming down and bigger candles, red candles. And right here, you can see the level of rejection at 198, I would say. I can't see that number. I'm assuming that's 198. And this candle right here, looking for it to be a bigger red candle that goes underneath this candle, especially the body right here. So once that, and you can see there's a top wick that rejected. So once that comes down, there's more momentum to the downside. So I'll switch back to 5 minutes because I have more confirmation on the 15 minutes that there is a lot of downside from that big wick. And as I mentioned, I'm looking at the QQQs and NASDAQ future on the side, which unfortunately I didn't record those part. So coupled with how they move, when based on what I mentioned on the 5-minute candles and how the candle behaviors move, that's what I look for while looking at L2, seeing how the movements go, especially like if it goes up and rejects and comes straight back down and retries, but it goes back down lower, even by like a cent or two. That's what I look for. So speeding up, same thing. And you can see it's like it's failing, constantly failing. So these are the behaviors I'm looking at on the 5-minute and 1-minute. And further down it goes. So right here, I think it was about to bounce. Can't remember what happened here, but let's watch and see. I think it did bounce, and I almost got squeezed, and I feared a squeeze because here's the level. So 197, I was not worried about it because if it pops up a little bit, I was expecting maybe 0.5 or 70s, but 180 or 198 is where I got worried because that's the resistant level from this one right here and here. So watching it come up. So being cautious, I believe now, or I think I was actually not looking right here, and I saw it as it came up over here. So watching that, watching L2, it's creeping up. It's trying to creep up. It's struggling, but it's creeping up. So looking for a reject right here, and lower it go. If it rejects here and goes lower, then even better. You can see this right here rejecting, but if it pops, I think it went up to 198. So we'll see in a bit. And honestly, I think right here I was getting ready, or actually down here I did saw it come down, but I was not, like I said, I wasn't paying attention too much because I think it was doing more downside, and which later it did after this exit too. So let's see, it's trying to shoot up, watching the L2, and you can see the L2 is climbing. It went down a little bit and it's climbing now. So right here went down to low 70s, but now it's going to 80s. It's going lower. So back to 80s, back to 90s, lower 80s, lower 90s, but higher 90s, and then straight past to 197 and came back down by 20 cents. And then watching this dude's thing really. And right here you can see I'm waiting for this to go down, the red candle go down. But I think this one comes up and try to squeeze me out. So watching at this level, I moved my stop over to 198 because, like I said, I can have a bigger range since I was in at 202. So watching, it's constantly retesting 0.9s. Jumps back down to 7s, it failed, and go into the 0.5s, which is what I was looking for. for more on the downside. Let's see if it really does give the downside. Or it could be like trying to get ready to pop again. So this one actually came down, so I was wrong. This one's came down, so it might be the one I mentioned later that pops up and I just didn't pay attention to. And you can see this is my biggest trade. If we were talking about P&L for biggest trade, I mean, I think this almost reached 4,000 at one point. But 202 all the way up here at close to 825. I got out closer. There's a few more minutes right here, probably closer to like 11:30, I think. It was a 3-hour long wait and hold. So I think it's gonna come down. So if this, it's kind of hard to see because this text is in the way, but if this candle comes down, goes below this red candle, I have more conviction to stay. Especially right here, if it breaks low of day support. So right now, 30, 40, 30s, low, and try and go higher 30s, and yeah. So it's just like back and forth, and it came back down. All right, so more downside. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing right there, but it came down, and you see all these wicks came down, and it's testing support. Now I should have got out here. This is where I should have gone out, but I think I got greedy, a little bit greedy here, and wanted to hold, especially with like such a wide range. 202, and now it's at 196. That's like what, $8? Almost an $8 move. And I was seeing if it can go lower, but here it started popping. And I think this is where I mentioned where this is actually where I was supposed to look, but I didn't. No, I did. So right here, I'm looking at 197. So same thing what I mentioned over here, 197 because of this. If it goes above and pops up to 188, that was my exit. But during that time, I was thinking 197 would have been the squeeze mark where it can go higher. So I'm watching this. 7s, 80s, goes up, and I did widen my stops to 198, thinking just in case this was like a fake pop. So it's coming up, and here is the sign, all indicators flagging saying, get out. Stochastic is coming up on 1 minute, 5 minute coming out. Heikin-Ashi turned green. This big candle. This is the pullback, small pullback, and goes up. Now this could squeeze me too, and especially this huge candle. Now what I didn't think of was this could be a fake pop, but I didn't know where it's gonna pop because the first one was 197. That was supposed to be my exit, but it didn't. It didn't stay below. So 198 was my next stop, and if that failed, I was not going to risk anything. So I think I even got out a little bit before. So let's see. And I think this whole time I was watching L2, looking to see what it does. Okay, so I thought it would reject it 197.5, but it bounced 197 flat. So watching L2, so it goes up to 2s, 3s, it's climbing back down to 25 and then shot back up to 50s and 60s. Getting ready to exit, and that's when I took my exit. So made back everything, biggest trade, all the way from 202 to I don't know 197.7. But unfortunately, later on in the other video, you will see that it'll reject 198 from this level, and it just came back down. Actually, it went lower. It went at the end of the day. I checked it went down to 192, I believe. So unfortunately, I didn't get that. Couldn't get the 2,000 on my P&L. I mean, let's go back a little bit. Yeah, well, 4,000 I should say. But I did make everything back. This would have been my biggest trade if we were looking at everything in the whole, ignoring the P&L, ignoring all this. This was the biggest, longest trade I've done, and uh, yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking here and there, especially like this level right here, this level, and this, because this could have gone parabolic on me, and I could get squeezed out. Seen many times it happened like this, so it was better to get out around this area. So that's pretty much the NVIDIA trade where I held almost 3 hours, maybe more than 3 hours on this for a huge win.